In the last video, I showed you this seat I received from Spike, and it had a little bit of like what looked like brown overspray all over it. It is now gone, just using some white spirit. All I need to do now is fill in this tiny little tear just there and have a look at a couple of little nicks on the bottom. But other than that, the good thing with using a white spirit is that is now clean and prepped, ready for the dye. And I'm going to use the same product as before, which is a spray-on product. Really, really simple to use. Welcome back to another video, guys, on my Honda Vision scooter Bozo Zuko build. So, if you haven't watched the previous videos, you'll be unaware that I have been restoring an old 1986 Honda Vision scooter, and a lot has been done. So if you haven't caught up already, please feel free to look back at the previous videos and you'll be up to date with where we are at this moment in time. Now, in the last video, I told you that there was a couple of little modifications that I'd like to carry out, mainly on the seat and also a rear lens. Now, the rear lens is complete. The seat has had some repairs done to it in preparation for what I want to do. But yeah, let me show you the rear lens. This is what we have. So as some of you will know, I did the Japanese sunrise on the front indicator lenses, which are here. And I've replicated the same on the rear. Now the idea is that when it lights up, these will be a lot brighter than this. So it kind of replicates it, because the sunrise flag, use this as an example, the flag, that's what I've gone with. So yeah, quirky little idea, but I think it's actually come out much nicer than I originally thought. And all I did was used a little bit of masking tape, drew a rough design of what I was happy with, and then just cut out the bits that I wanted tinting, which you can see is this bit here. And then I've gone over the whole thing with some Body Shop lacquer just to seal it in. But this was the original one, which you can see here is ever so slightly damaged underneath, because the one that I'd received off Spike was far too clean to modify. So this one is going to be kept completely original, because they are hard to come by. Parts like this are difficult. So this one is going to stay as is. So yeah, all that's required now is I can get this back on that. I'm actually really happy with that. I love how subtle of a detail it is. But let's try it with the lights. Let's try it with also the brake lights, and we'll see how it looks. So what do you guys think? I'm actually really happy with that. Really nice, subtle little detail, and something a little bit quirky. And to be fair, it was something I wanted to try out, and I'm actually really impressed with it. I'm really happy with that. So with that now fitted, let me show you where I'm at with the seat. So here we have the seat from Spike, and I have filled and sanded the filler. Now, this is a leather filler, even though this is vinyl, but it's all the same. It's a very flexible, heavy use filler. So yeah, I've just filled it and sanded these little nicks. But once this has been dyed, you will not tell. So what needs to happen now is that I go over this with some light sandpaper, and then I can get on and dye this seat, but I'm unsure whether I want to dye it in the green, which this one, which we're going to modify, is currently in. So what I might do is prep this ready for any form of dye. I also want to measure this here because I'd like a stencil made, because I would like to reinstall the Honda logo once it's been dyed. So for now, this one is going to be put to one side and we can concentrate on this one. So what's going to have to happen first is remove all of these staples so I can remove the cover and then see what we have underneath, because the modification is mainly going to happen to the foam. So what I'm hoping to do is shape this seat into like a pillion seat. I'm not quite sure what they're actually called. I'll post a picture up for you to have a look at. But I can only assume that you can buy them like this, but also that they have modified the original one. Because in a couple of photos I have seen, the shape of this is identical to what they have, but you can just see that they've shaped and then recovered the seat. So that's what I'm attempting to do. So yeah, first things first, try and remove all of these rusty looking staples and see what we have underneath. Okay, so I just got back and bought some foam. This is what I'm going to use to hopefully try and reshape my seat. There's more than enough there. That was 10 quid. So yeah, cheaper than I thought. I just need to watch a few videos online and see what I can use to trim this without the professional tools. So I'm going to do as much as I can myself. And yeah, some contact spray adhesive also. I don't know the exact plan, but I have got a couple of images of seats which have been done, and I think I'm going to use those as a guide. So there you go, managed to pull all of the staples out. Just used a flat head screwdriver and then my pliers to pull them, but yeah, a nice rusty pile there. Now I've saved one. This was from a comment on my previous video, so I appreciate that, to keep one of the staples so I can measure it, so I know then what to replace these with, because I would hate to go through the plastic into the new cover. So that's great advice, so I appreciate that. So I'll keep that to one side. But now I can pull this cover off and see what we have underneath. There we go. It's actually in very, very good condition. Really good condition. And for those of you that are unaware, if you ever wondered how this bracket was removed, you have to take the seat cover off. Because when you do, there is a hole here, which you can then put a screwdriver through to remove that bolt. So whilst I can get to it, I'm going to do that. I'm going to remove this, put this in a vapor blaster, and get it all nice and clean. Okay, so it is the following day, and the seat has returned from vapor blasting. So let me show you the results. Here we have the plastic tray, and it has come out absolutely mint. 40 years almost of grime and dirt and a little bit of overspray from where I painted the seat cover have all disappeared. Bracket, very good condition, and just to protect this, from any chance of future rusting, I will give this a lick of paint. Or I may actually even just go over it with a little bit of Body Shop lacquer. But either way, we will protect that. But yeah, very, very happy with the result. The original seat foam, I wasn't going to use this to shape the seat that I'm after. I was just going to build up some of this 1-inch foam which I purchased. But looking at all the contours of this tray, I think it's going to be a safer bet for me to reattach the original seat, which has all the contours already. I've marked the main part of the foam where it's thick. Where you can fold here, you can quite clearly see it. So as long as I don't pass this black line, I know that I'll have enough material to then add some of this, and then we can start shaping what we require. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get some adhesive, stick this back onto that, and yeah, we'll start cutting and yeah, see what we come up with. Now, to trim the foam, there are a few tools that you can buy, and obviously the industry-based tools are extremely expensive, so that was out the question. This was always going to be a DIY project, and hopefully to be carried out as cheap as possible. So watching a couple of videos online, someone suggested using, believe it or not, a serrated bread cutting knife. And with that, he came out with an electric cutting knife that you used to really cut meats with. But it seemed to work brilliantly. And for 20 quid, I was willing to give it a go. So that's what I've purchased and that's what I've done. So yeah, that's the tool that I'll be using to hopefully not make a mess of this seat. Okay, I've had a bit of a mess around with the pen, and I think I'm happy with what I've got. Now, it looks very confusing for you guys, but in essence, follow this line here. I'm going to cut, this is what I'm going to cut away. So follow this line along here, up and around here. So what we're going to get from that is that the seat will sit lower here where I sit, and it will come up. So this will follow all the way across here. So it will lift up and then dip ever so slightly again for, in theory, where the passenger would sit. So I think that's what I'm going to go with. And I think by doing this, I'm not actually going to have to build up much of that seat using this. The knife, I literally just cut into this bit to test it. And as you can see, it has cut it so flat. It's actually brilliant. So it comes with 2 blades, one fine and one coarse. And I've gone for the fine blade because the coarse is used for more like frozen foods. But yeah, it's 2 blades. And honestly, it is a brilliant bit of kit. And actually, very, very quiet. But yeah, very well recommended, 100%. And this is the one I've gone for. But yeah, 20 quid. I think it's going to make my job a lot easier. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to try and get it as symmetrical as possible on both sides. And let's go for it. Let's see what we get out of it. So guys, for the first initial cut, look at that. That's done an amazing job. It's cut it so smooth. So hopefully, if I can keep this going and be nice and steady, I think that's going to come out so well. What a brilliant little thing. The only downside I'd say is that the cable is extremely short, so I might have to plug in my extension lead to give me a bit more freedom. But yeah, wow. That is amazing. That's so good. So yeah, I'll continue, try and get the rough shape that I'm after, and then I'll get back to you. Okay guys, so this is what we have so far. So I've managed to cut all of this out. It's a little bit fiddly with this. It's a shame actually that this blade isn't a little bit longer, just to cover the whole width. I've got to kind of do it almost in 2 halves. But once it's covered, you're not going to know anyway. I've ordered some quite thick fabric. And what we'll do is we'll use the foam I bought and we'll build this bit up. So it will kick up here, round, and then dip down for the back part. So I'll cut some foam up now and yeah, we'll have a little play about. Okay, so I've cut the foam in half. So it's now roughly 1/2 inch thick. What I'm going to do is, the idea is to stick this down onto here and then shape this so it will lift the height of this here. But yeah, sort of I'll cut more away, I think, to be fair. I only really need slightly wider than this strip here and then just trim it and smooth it in. So I think that's what I'll do. And I think then I'll be happy with the height of that kick. So yeah, I'll trim this down, stick a bit of adhesive on here, and yeah, start shaping. Okay, so this is me just starting to shape it. You can see here that it dips and then just kicks up to come back over. Now, the back bit isn't that wide. Obviously, I need to sit quite back. I'm 6'1", so if I had it a little bit forward, like the Japanese seem to have it, I'd be on the edge of the seat all the time. So it's more for looks. I won't be carrying passengers, obviously. It is purely for looks. But yeah, this is what I have. I'm not quite sure if I really need to add any more, to be honest. I'm not sure. I'm quite happy with that. So what I might do is wait for the material to arrive, which should be a couple of days, and just lightly lay it over and just see what it looks like, because that adhesive, by the way, is extremely good. It's stuck in no time at all. So I don't really want to start sticking any more material or foam to this, just in case if it's not needed. So yeah, I'll wait for the fabric to arrive, and yeah, we'll give it a sort of a test fit and see how it looks. And just like that, we have our fabric. So let's open it up and take a look at what we have. And this is what I've gone for. So it's quite thick. This is 5mm thick scrim, and it is the diamond stitch with the green stitching. But yeah, I thought I'd go for something a little bit more luxury. There's a lot more here than what I originally thought. So more than enough to do the seat. Since you last saw it, I have added a little bit here. So I wasn't quite happy with where it sort of just came up and over. So I just added a bit so it kicks in. So now this has a nice shape. And hopefully with this, it comes out well. Now, I'm not quite sure whether I'm just going to have this diamond stitch stuff on the top and following this shape around here. Possibly down here also, and then have just some plain black leatherette for the back bit. I'm not quite sure yet. I quite like the idea of following the original little seam just here. But I'm going to give this to my mother. She's very talented on the sewing machine. I'm certainly not. So she's the one that's going to be helping me make this seat cover. So I'm going to head straight to my dear mother's and drop off the seat for her to have a look at. And I'm kind of just going to leave it with her and see what she comes up with. And that's going to be away for, I imagine, a week or two. And in that time, I'm going to work on my car, which is usually hidden under the red sheet. And yeah, there's a couple of little service items and just a couple of little jobs which I've let go and I've wanted to complete for a little time now. So yeah, I'll concentrate on that. I'll record what I do and show you guys. But with that, as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one.